Okay, so here is another rating video. So I'm whipping out my big purple rod so that I can rate these World War II-esque sort of era airplane games. So 1942 was this is the first one. Pretty sure 1942 was the first one. And then what the technical sequel was, I wasn't sure. And so I wanted to do a rating because the reason why the 1942, the video game, didn't make that list, even though I played 1942, and 1942 obviously had a sequel, I wasn't sure which one was actually technically the sequel. And quite honestly, they're all similar, or at least I thought that they were similar enough that it was like, that's not going to be very interesting. And I was kind of wrong about that. I mean, they're similar, but they're different enough that I think I could rate them. So that's what I'm going to do. When I went in and dug around looking at them again, I decided that I could try to do some rating. And as I've said before, it gives me a chance to whip out my big purple rod. I also apologize for the noise. I know it's very noisy in here. I've got fans going on. I've got air conditioner because we're in the middle of a heat wave right now, and it's insane. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna pretend that we're in like one of those arcades, those old arcades where we're in the back of a building, back corner room of a building, this dark, dank place nobody else in the building really wants to go to, or everything's just, that's where the air conditioning is and all that stuff and everything. And then there's this, the little game room in there. So that's where we're going to pretend. Actually, that almost perfectly describes this room, because this room is actually, it's a lot brighter in here right now than it normally is. But only the aesthetic is dark. The mood is always bright and cheerful. And that's actually the truth. And almost all of that has to do with my wife, who is the most amazing person. So anyway, here we are doing another video without a script, without any kind of idea of what we're doing. Basically just piece this together with the pieces that I already have. And we're going to give peace a chance.
Thank you for your patience as we continue to pull this episode of Boomer Dad straight out of our asses.
Okay, so it's already tomorrow. This always winds up being a little more complicated than I anticipate, but that's a good thing because then it becomes more fun. So we're gonna have fun now, and part of our fun is going to be to revisit something that I recorded when I was recording my gameplay of the game. So we're gonna look at me going through the Hyperspin list of the games that we're gonna be talking about, and then we'll come back to me then later, which will probably be tomorrow or a week from Thursday, and do each of the games one at a time, and I'll talk about each of them one at a time, rating them. Here we are with 1941 Counterattack and 1942, the Play Choice version that I'd rather play an Atari port of an Atari port, and I'm talking 2600 Atari port of an Atari port. You know how I'd rather do the number 4, at least that's entertaining. That one might get a Tommy.
Let's share a moment of silence and reflection for Lisa.
1942, this is the version that I do like usually. 1943 with I'm assuming a Japanese symbol, don't know what the symbol means or anything, but this is a Capcom, and it's the same year and everything, and it looks like it's sort of the same version of, or different versions of the same game. So maybe a Japanese version. Sometimes you'd get that where just some of the different screens are in a different language. This looks like the 1943 that I remember playing, not nearly as much as 1942, but that I do remember playing. 1944, the Loop Master. I have no idea what that's going to be like. 1945K, I want to say, but then there's a 3. So I don't know if 1945K is 1942 the third. I have no idea. Or maybe it's Oriental Soft's third version, or if it's just the third version of 19... Because I wanted to say there's a 194X that I think is next. 194XX, so I don't know if this is... Was there a 194X? The War Against Destiny. Because this, again, has that Japanese arcade look to it. It was actually Chinese. Technically, it was well, I guess technically it was British because it was in Hong Kong.
What Boomer Dum Dum is referring to is the time he visited Hong Kong while living in Taiwan.
Back in the mid '80s, but it was then, but it would have been Chinese people majority. So those are the 19s that we are going to be doing for this. Because this kind of game is not my thing. We'll start with if I played it and it was okay. Let's call that a 6. Let's call that a 6 on this one. Does that give you too much? Should I make it a 7? Should I make it a 5 and give everything more room? But then you go down. Is anything, does anything? Don't think anything's gonna. Nothing's gonna get the Tommy on this one. That's unfortunate. And how are we going to be rating this, Boomer Dad? Tell us the secrets of the great purple rod. Oh my God. I'm gonna get arrested.
The secrets behind Boomer Dad's great purple rod.
I think a 2 is gonna almost be worse than a 1. Number 2 stinks like someone's poo. Like a 1 is like Tommy Wiseau. That's what I should do on my thing. Is I should put Tommy Wiseau or just put a Tommy Wiseau wig on my thing. Maybe I'll do that for the next one. You get a 1. You're my future wife. My future wife is a 1. Where do you go? Where's the ceiling there? Well, as my friend Nigel Tufnell taught me, my meter goes to 11. Tommy is the big one. I mean, the Tommy is like when you fuck it up so badly, but you do it perfectly, and you Tommy Wiseau, you the room it. Troll 2, Birdemic. All the way at the one end is Nigel, is an 11, this one goes to 11, and then you're my future wife, the Tommy one. 1941 is the first one on the list because numerically and yada yada yada, but it looks like it's one of the last ones and I didn't look up all of that stuff, so this isn't retro history, and I just lost my glasses. No, I didn't lose my glasses. I lost my old librarian. What the hell's going? Why did that felt like I lost an earring there or something. Never going there, and I'm not even sure why I'm putting my glasses on because I'm not reading anything. I'm just talking about because I was watching. All right, never mind. I'm not the retro history channel or whatever. I'm Bummer Dad. So 1941. First of all, I'm not a big fan of scrolling shooters to begin with. I enjoy them when I'm in the mood for them. But I'm not a big, like Darius, R-Type. I don't even know which one from the other. That's how little I actually sought after. Maybe it was kind of because Scramble I had a lot of fun with Scramble, but Scramble was sort of one thing at a time. And then when it got to be too busy, I mean, remember, we were just one stick and a button. Was it? Why do I want to? Because now you for some reason, I want to say the button was on the right upper, like at 10 o'clock, right? That's 10 o'clock. Yeah, 10 o'clock. Don't look at my clock back here. That clock is completely fucked up, as you can see. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Yeah, I was off on my joystick. Right, and I'm trying not to get canceled.
A few Boomer Dum Dum moments and a non sequitur later.
So 1941, I think a lot of times for me, the scrolling shooters tend to have too much going on. But with that said, sometimes they're fun. And the one thing that I do like about this version of the 19.4X, whatever these games are, I like having the health meter as opposed to lives because it doesn't interrupt play. Now, if you're a dumbass like me saying, how come I keep getting hit and I'm not, what's causing my invincibility? What's causing my I still can't say it. What's causing my invincibility? I want to keep saying instability. I'm wondering why. Hey, did you hear about Boomer Dad? Yeah, he was trying to say invincibility.
And then he lost his shit.
And become unstable.
Wow. Listen to me. I think I need a drink. Not that kind of a drink. Agua. El agua. And it is el agua. I learned that. That's, I think, the only thing I learned in Spanish. In school, I learned a lot more Spanish in a commercial kitchen in Dallas, waiting tables. That's where I learned Spanish. Of course, I graduated college proficient in French, and the only thing that I can say in French is oui, oui, and these days that gets you into trouble. I'm off topic slightly. So I like the action of this game. It's one of those kind of cartoony games, Japanese arcade, everything's big, wow, splash, like the Bill Murray film Lost in Translation when he's on that talk show, and everything is just over the top. It's just wow. And that's sort of like what I think of when I look at games like this. There's just an array spewing everywhere, and I just keep pressing the buttons. It feels like at some point, especially this one, this kind, because it does have the shock to it. The B button instead of a flip, which I never use for some reason when that's the mechanic. It's not really a smart bomb, but it feels like it's supposed to be, it wants to be a smart bomb. I'm going to give 1941 an 8, because 1942 is going to be up there. At least the arcade version of it is going to be up there. If it was just like, it's okay, 5 or 6, 7 maybe, but this one held my interest. This one was fun. It wasn't quite as frantic, and it wasn't quite as frustrating because you can take the hits without it interrupting the game flow and having to go back and collect all your special stuff and all that. Of course, the downside of that is when your game is over, your game is over. So if you're not paying attention, you're going along and all of a sudden you're done, as opposed to, the normal life count that you would do if you were cycling through lives. Solid 8. Not a great game. If I was going to sit down, I would still sit down and play 1942 before I would play this. But this was fun. It wasn't Kubert Cubes fun. It wasn't like one of those Discoveries fun, because I do play Kubert Cubes frequently now. So this channel's even expanded my palette. Now I like one more game that was programmed before 1990. Okay, so now we are going to do the first of the 1942. And I've already expressed my feelings about this, so I'll just let myself take it away. Take it away, wiser self. 1942 is the one that no, that's not... This is the one. I will not be playing this. Play Choice 10. Fuck these Play Choice 10. I hate these. I hate those games. It just, for some reason, I'd rather play the 2600 port than and like, look at this. Look at that. Play Choice 10. Gets the deuce. 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 Big poo stinker. There's no excuse for something that you put a quarter into to look like that. I know. Oh, you didn't even play it. You didn't even show. I don't care. It's my list. It's my show. And this has already taken me a lot longer than... I should probably organize this stuff better. I should probably organize this stuff, period. Play Choice 10 version of 1942 gets the deuce. Look, you want to fuck it up, really fuck it up. You want the Tommy? The Tommy is not about being bad. It's about bad good, right? Like The Room. That's why we call it the Tommy. There are other bad good movies. Troll 2, Birdemic is what, and there are many others. Tell me more. We might talk about them. We might go find the video games for these. Comment away. So if you want the Tommy, you're gonna have to do some serious, like, bizarro whack shit. It was just, why bother? Why bother? Just at least try. And now, will the real 1942 please stand up? I like 1942, and it might be because it's one of the first games. I don't know whether that or Xevious was my first vertical scroller. Woo! Both of them had just mild appeal to me. They were okay games. Whatever grabs me about video games, scrolling shooters just doesn't do it. That's why I think the platform games, or however Mario, the level games, just popping up and down. I know that now I'm about to say that Donkey Kong is the same as 1942. So it is a few bumps between a vertical shooter and a platform leveler with, and what joysticks are you using? What would we do without the purists? We wouldn't be cleaning a lot of old gear. That's what we wouldn't be doing. Here you go. That's the right stick, isn't it? Company still makes them, but man, that was on the original machine. There's something about that, about this community, that I love at the same time. I mean, I'm not a restoration person or anything. I'm not a collector. I just love classic arcade games. And I love video games too. My heart is with the classic arcade games, because I actually think, pound for pound, they are much harder. Much harder. Not more complicated, much harder. There's a difference. It's challenging enough that you really get the adrenaline going, but you could make $1 worth of quarters last for a little bit. Unless you're like me, and for some reason I have this fourth chromosome, or how many chromosomes do you have? However many I've just got a problem, and my problem is whenever I'm here and a bullet's here, and the bullet's going like this way, I just tend to, it's like I'm a bullet magnet, except for when I'm at a poker table. I'm not a bullet magnet at a poker table. Everywhere else, I'm a bullet magnet. 1942, solid game. If that's your flavor, then fine. If you like it spacey, Xevious. The one thing about 1942 that I'll say, it'll change patterns, it'll change the sprites of the airplanes, but a whole lot doesn't change. Whereas in the other games, they progress, you go through different things. So in this, you go from 32 down to 31, down to 30, but they're all pretty much essentially the same feel to them. Except for level 29, which is really cool. Level 29, which I think is really like level 4. Everything still comes at you, but nothing shoots. And right before then, you can actually get a double or triple airplane. And be careful, because you can still live through getting hit. The only thing that is still your life is still the center plane. One of my slight gripes about this is, having played with a health bar as opposed to lives, I prefer the health bar. That's just my preference. I can understand if you want the lives, if you want the interrupt to know where you are in terms of how many lives you are. Unlike me, who we've already established, I just ignore it until it's like, what the hell? Why did I die all of a sudden? What happened? The other thing is that, for some reason, the special button, the B button, on this game is a flip. So it's basically like hyperspace. And then the other one on some of the other games is like a smart bomb. I will use the smart bomb. I'll just sit there and pound the smart bomb till it's gone. I won't use the flippy thing, the barrel roll or whatever you want to, the hyperspace. I won't use that for some reason. Because even when I think to use it, I think, I don't want to use that now because I might need it sometime down the road. Make your someday today, because you may wind up 6 feet under with a few more barrel rolls in your pocket that you didn't execute, because you might need them sometime else. I know that's kind of a dessert first approach to things. The closer you get to that 6 feet under, the more dessert really looks good at dinner time. So 1942, I give it a 9. Solid 9, solid game. It's loosely my what's the word? It's not pinnacle. Like the test subject, right? It's loosely my reference. That's not the word that I want. That's the problem. College education is highly overrated because you forget words. College makes you allergic to words. Before I went to college, I was always reading a book. I always had a book in my, I always was reading. College killed that. 4 years of you have to do anything kills your love for anything. 1942. I want to say, not the trial. It's a test thing, right? It's a test thing. Now I've got to look this shit up. I can't believe I'm doing this. No, I don't want to search my email. What is I don't know what the name of it. I don't know what the name of the thing is. What is the weather? No, I don't. Why would it even know what I want to ask it? But I can't. The problem is I can't see what I'm thinking. And did I just say I can't see what I'm thinking? What is the weather? Why am I hung up on it? Because it's asking me. Stop Google finishing my stuff. What is the
See, Jane, run. See, Jane, run from Boomer Dum Dum.
Baseline of a song, of a wave, of a clinical trial. Baseline, right? Baseline. Even if that's not the right fucking word, baseline sounds really cool. So with 1942 as my baseline, as a 9, that's how I'm going to proceed. And that's where I was when I did 1941. This thing's gonna be longer than any of my movies. And moving right along. Okay, so the 1943 games I'm going to do together because they're basically the same game. One is Japanese and the other one is English American, the English version, English language version, and then the non-English Asian. I am not going to get off on a tangent. 1943, Japan or Japanese version versus, we'll say, American version. Japanese version of 1943. Whoever made this game, is this Capcom? I think this is Capcom, and I don't know. So like I said, I don't know anything about any of this stuff, and I'm getting off on another tangent, and I'm not going to do that. What I'm doing right now, I am not going to do anymore.
Just listen to the man with the big purple rod giving us the verbal shaft.
Animal, vegetable, mineral. Whoever designed 1943 certainly has a lot more faith in the abilities of the Japanese players, because I found the Japanese version to be much harder. The English version is easier. The one thing that I don't really like about this sort of version of the 19.4X is the fact that you can hit the power-ups. I don't like that. I like just sort of getting the power-ups. Maybe I do like it. I just don't know what the power-ups mean. I guess if I knew what the power-ups meant, and I guess I would know that if I played it more, and if I played it more, that is a difference, is that you can shoot the power-ups and it will rotate in 1943. It will rotate through, kind of like other games later on. You could change the color or the type of power-up so that you could keep powering up in the same way, or leveling up. In today's modern, like, sort of role-playing games online, maybe that's where that started from, is stay on the same course, like my kid and I are doing in our Dark Souls game channel. That's Game Guys, by the way, and I'm getting off. I do like the bar, and I like the health bar on this version of the game more than the health bar, which was just sort of like blocks on 1941. And I know it's still 4 hits or 5 hits or whatever, and you're done. It's all psychological and everything. There's just something about a solid thing that just keeps getting smaller and smaller than a bunch of small things, and they don't have any. I wonder if women would have a larger or smaller problem with this issue. I like the graphics on the 1943 games better. But that being said, the gameplay is that I don't like it as much. They kind of lost a little bit of the homeschool for a little bit of the pizzazz. I like some of the pizzazz, some of the visual pizzazz. Different shot patterns that you have are kind of get gimmicky. In terms of overall gameplay, I still prefer 1942. It's pretty close. The non-English version of 1943 is so much harder. I mean, it's like relentless, noticeably harder. And I'm not very good at these games to begin with, but I got smoked in the non-English version, whereas I lasted longer in the English version. Not as long as I would in 1942, but that's just because I'm more used to 1942. If you like the 1940 games, but you want that cooler animation and the more gimmicky kind of stuff, you've basically got two choices here. The English version is the amped version, the recharged version of 1942, and then 1943, the non-English version, is re-amped 1943 English version, in my opinion. I'm going to give 1943 English version an 8, and I'm going to give the non-English version a 9, just because it's that much more challenging. So if you're into these kind of games, I think you would like 1943 non-English much better. Hopefully this segment wasn't 4 hours long. Premise of the 1904 games: a plane going this way, things coming down, all right? That's the general premise. 1944, the Chiquita Banana chick comes up to Elvis, and Elvis goes, "Hey baby, you look good." Would he say that? I'm not getting on an Elvis thing. I know nothing about Elvis. I don't listen to Elvis, although I will say, just a little bit of a sidebar, Charlie Schlatter, an actor from the late 80s, early 90s, he had a little pop. He was local to where I went to school. Charlie Schlatter was in a movie called, and I think it was Keith David or David Keith, I get them mixed up, and there's the one that would play Elvis, played Elvis, and Charlie Schlatter played it. Anyway, it was called Heartbreak Hotel. And I remember seeing it when I think it was in college. I remember seeing it, and I liked it. This is me not getting off track. So Elvis says, "Hey baby, you look good." Kita lady takes off the cornucopia thing, hauls it at the king, right? The thing at the king. Elvis ducks, because when you're taking care of business,
you can duck a fucking fruit salad.
Especially when they are spilling the powdered sugar onto the floor.
Elvis ducks, the fruit thing hits the wall. That is this game, at least how it looks. If you like the action of it and you don't care about the strategy, you really don't care, you just want to shoot the shit out of stuff, I mean, just, hey, what the fuck, and oh, hey, why not? That's this game. So, dumber, bigger, so if that's your thing, and that's why these are hard to grade, because there's that fun factor about it, too, that's just so over the top and kind of just, what is, really? So this is hard because, like, in some ways it's a 3, and in other ways, it's like an 8 or a 9 if you just want to, but it really isn't, because because the next one it gets even, and that one has a little extra that this one doesn't. So I think I'm gonna give just for the let's see how fucking far out we can take this. I'm gonna give it an 8. It's fun. I might actually pull 1943, the English version, down to like a 7, maybe. This isn't a 9. In my world, Boomer Dad world, it's an 8. Kind of makes the English 1943, but, well, no, but that one had some, never mind. You know what? Boomer Dad has have spoken. Hopefully I didn't say that loud enough for Vicky to hear. Yes, 1944 is an 8. Now time for either the most confused or the most pretentious game on this list. Okay, so these just get more and more kind of bizarro weird. 1945 K the third. So I thought it was an X, so I don't know my X's from my K's apparently. So hello, I'm Zevin. Actually, you know what? Zevin, like if it was actually Zevin.
He actually meant to say X instead of Z, which still would make the Z sound, so Boomer Dum Dum is at least well intended in his deceptive ramblings.
I've never met a Zevin. I grew up with a Kevin who spelled his name with an A, Kevan, and I've actually met a Kevin who was a woman. That was cool, a woman named Kevin. That was kind of interesting. I keep getting off topic here, and the topic is if my name started with a Z.
We are very sorry for the letter confusion that you are currently experiencing. To better Dum proof our content, the part of the letter X will be played by the letter Z for the remainder of our video.
Hello, I am Zevin. Zevin's Angels. Okay, so speaking of off topic, I'm talking about 1945K the third. Either this game is pretentious well, actually this game may be close to a Tommy. I think I'm just gonna pull from my play footage. So why don't we let past Boomer Dad fill in the blanks on what makes this one so special.
Ooh, watermelons and cherries. Hey, and bars and I'm like, yeah, I should show this to my wife. My wife would love this. It's a slot machine. It's a slot machine. And I'm just like blowing up as soon as he's. Look at that. How do I get around all that shit? I mean, look at that. God, what are the house odds on? Oh, by the way, you're fucked. See, that's why gambling doesn't pay. Especially when you haven't gone into the menu yet and given yourself the maximum number of chips and made this shit a lot easier.
So part of me wants to give this a Tommy, you know, because it's not terrible, it's not great. It's fun and it's weird and it's a 1940 game. It's just quirky, difficult, and bordering on offensive. That's Tommy Wiseau, right? Just for the name alone, 1945 K, is that like K like money? 1945 large the third. I would go so much further with that 30 years ago. 1945 large the third. Baby, you rolled in a Tommy. Congratulations. 19XX or 19XX. 19. If Michael Scarn designed a video game, it would be 19XX, 19XX, 19XX. Take your pick. All it means is almost porn. These games get more and more interesting, so I guess the only way to beat 1945 large, the third, is to just go mysterious. 19XX. Extra something. Extra something. We don't know what it is. It ain't lack of bullets, enemies, or anything else, because this game is nuts off the top. I've talked about it before. Everything is filled, and half the time your ship takes up half the bottom of the screen. Everything is so big and over the top and booming. You expect to see Arnold Schwarzenegger, Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude, and why don't we just throw Tim Allen in all of that for kicks? And then Kiefer Sutherland can come in and kick all of their asses until Tom Cruise shows up, because nobody kicks Jack Reacher's ass. This game is really fun. It's really over the top. I'm not into these kind of games, but man, if you're gonna do a game like this, fucking do it. Just go to it. Once again, I wonder why I don't write lyrics. Here's what I'm gonna do. This one's fun and it's over the top and all that. I'm gonna give this a 9. I'm not gonna give it a 10. You gotta be The Empire Strikes Back to get an 11. Sorry, but you gotta be The Empire Strikes Back to get an 11. I already gave a Tommy to our Heritage game. Or Legacy, right? Legacy or Heritage? Legacy. Progeny? The third generation. All right, I'm off topic again. So I already gave the Tommy to Reginald III, formerly known as Fresh Prince of 1945 Large. There's a little bit more kind of weird gameplay in Almost Porn. The difference is the pickups are medals in Almost Porn, formerly known as 19XX. That's going to be the difference, but it's still a 9. And you know, I'm giving 8s and 9s to games in a genre that I'm not really into. It would be interesting to see somebody else who's really into these games go into the minutia. I mean, that kind of stuff sometimes really interests me. I don't have the wherewithal to go and figure all that shit out because you know, we've already established I'm a moron. I was forced to go to college, so it's not entirely my fault. Only some of it's genetic. The rest is just me being me. We're giving this... Well, we're done, right? We're done. If you are still watching, I'm so sorry. Well, no. If you're still watching, you enjoyed yourself to some degree, and if it was at my expense, that's fine, because that's what I'm here for, is I just really need to shut up. In all seriousness, I so much appreciate each and every one of you, especially if you're still watching at this point. You have yourself a fantastic day.